They say, hey, here's how you should fill this thing out. Big wink and a nod, folks. Fill it out this way. Huh. You know I love the wink and a nod. Mike Flynn, huge development, Lieutenant General Mike Flynn's case. Many of you know Mike Flynn was the subject of the deep state Spygate swamp attack for a reason. Lieutenant General Mike Flynn was President Trump's choice for national security advisor. He was in that role for 11 days. He was then terminated by the Trump administration pursuant to a deep state attack where they alleged he lied in an FBI interview about a conversation he had with the Russian ambassador. The problem is, as many of you well know, the FBI agents that interviewed Mike Flynn and claimed he lied in their interview at the White House. Remember the sneak attack Jim Comey, former FBI director, talked about? So I sent these two agents over because I knew we could get away with it. Remember that one? Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
The two agents went back and told the FBI administrators and supervisors they were reporting to after they interviewed Mike Flynn that they didn't believe Mike Flynn was being deceptive. I didn't say that wrong. Mike Flynn was prosecuted and for lying to the FBI, despite the fact that the FBI agents claimed he didn't lie to the FBI. Yes, this is really happening, folks. This is really happening. Unreal what's going on here. So Flynn, mistakenly, Lieutenant General Flynn pled guilty. I believe it's for a number of reasons. They were pursuing his family. They were going to bankrupt him. They did bankrupt him, as a matter of fact. But having been on the other side of the federal agent equation, the pressure the federal government can put on you to plead guilty, even if you're not guilty, is pretty dramatic, folks.
Oh, yeah, Daddy.
It's bad. So Lieutenant General Flynn, through his excellent attorney, Sidney Powell, has since rescinded the plea and said, listen, I didn't lie to the FBI, okay? That was a mistake. I shouldn't have pled. He was trying to save his family. Now, something else is coming out. This is going to get fascinating because I'm going to give you kind of an angle on this you may not have heard. So the Federalist has an excellent piece I said I would tell you about today, and it is just the swampiest of the swamp. I mean, the fetid, stinking, sulfur-emitting swamp is just its tentacles are everywhere. Piece is by Leslie McAdoo Gordon. Court to investigate whether Mike Flynn's first lawyers did a bad job. Wait, Mike Flynn had other lawyers before his new lawyer, Sidney Powell, who's excellent, by the way. So Sidney Powell's looking at what his first group of lawyers did, and he's like, Sidney Powell's saying, wait, time out, T.O., laundry on the field, red flag, under the hood for review here. Mike Flynn's first lawyers did what? Now, before I get into this, you may say, well, that's Mike Flynn's fault for hiring crappy lawyers. I'm not going to get into that because when you hire a lawyer, regardless, there are ethical obligations, folks.
Right. Yes, there are.
This is just common sense.
Yeah.
When you hire a lawyer, they're ethically required to provide you sound, competent legal advice. Whether they're Democrats or Republicans shouldn't matter. Now, having said that, there were some obvious warning signs about who Mike Flynn's first lawyers were and who they were associated with, which I'll get to in a second. But let's get to this from the Federalist piece. So here's what's going on right now. So Sidney Powell, Mike Flynn's new lawyer, looked at what the old lawyers did, and they said, hey, this doesn't make a lot of sense. The old lawyers, Covington, this group Covington, these lawyers, this Covington group, they helped Mike Flynn fill out this form. He was later prosecuted for filling out in what the government believed a dishonest fashion. So from the Federalist piece, when a criminal defendant claims a prior lawyer provided ineffective assistance of counsel, which is what Flynn's new attorney is saying now. They're saying our old attorney sucked, basically. I don't know any other way to tell you.
Yeah.
The courts deem that claim, this is important, ladies and gentlemen, to be a waiver of the attorney-client privilege. That means that otherwise privileged communications between the attorney and client can be disclosed in order to adjudicate the ineffective assistance claim. I'll translate this for you, don't worry. But this gets interesting. But that does not open the door for access to all communications between the defendant and their former attorney, former counsel, or to all of the information that former counsel obtained during the representation. What's going on here? Covington, Mike Flynn's first attorneys, he's now saying were totally ineffective. Covington helped him fill out this form. This Foreign Agent Registration Act form, FARA form. And what they did is they said, listen, General Flynn, because you had done some work for Turkey, for people in Turkey, we think it's best you fill out this form saying you were working on behalf of a foreign government, the Foreign Agency Register, the FARA form. Copy? Everybody follow me? Easy enough. The
Easy.
government then looked at the form after he was given advice by Covington to fill this form out, which, by the way, there's still no evidence Mike Flynn was working for the government of Turkey. None. Mike Flynn is a free U.S. citizen. Mike Flynn, whether you think it's a good or bad idea morally, it's not illegal for Mike Flynn to take a business contract with someone who's a Turkish citizen. There is nothing illegal about that at all. It'd be illegal if it was done in violation of U.S. law. And if he's lobbying on behalf of the Turkish government, then that FARA form's a must. Everybody tracking? Cool. So
Yeah,
Covington
okay.
tells him how to fill out this FARA form, even though it's still under dispute today that he had to even fill the form out at all. They say, hey, here's how you should fill this thing out. Big wink and a nod, folks. Fill it out this way. Huh. You know I love the wink and a nod.
Yeah, man.
All of a sudden, Joe, crazy time, Mike Flynn's being prosecuted for alleged false statements, filing false info on the FARA form that Covington, his first lawyers, advised them to fill out that way. And who's defending him against those charges? The same law firm, Covington, that told him to fill it out that way. I'm not kidding. So
What?
Flynn's
Yeah.
new attorney, finally a competent attorney, Sidney Powell's looking back and saying, come on. Come on, guy. You guys are the ones who told him to fill this out the way the government's saying is criminal, and now you're defending him against basically your own advice? You told him to do this, and you did it in conjunction. The allegations are they did it in conjunction with advice from this prosecutor's office. Now, why does this matter? It matters because this is an obvious conflict of interest. Covington needs to protect its professional reputation for advising clients to fill out FARA forms, not necessarily Flynn.
Right.
This is a huge conflict of interest. So now the government's saying, well, there's no more attorney-client privilege between Flynn and Covington, and that information should come out because he's claiming it was ineffective counsel. So if we want to look into that, we have to look at what Flynn's first attorney said, which usually you can't because it's privileged information. That's where it gets complicated because Brendan Van Grack, one of the prosecutors for the government looking into Flynn, apparently had something to do with those negotiations, so he'll actually be a witness in the ineffective counsel claim. My head is spinning.
Holy cow. Yeah.
Go back to my headline when your head starts to spin. These people all know each other. They all have something to hide. So the government prosecutor was involved in these FARA charges while working with Covington, this law firm who was representing Flynn, who advised him how to fill out the FARA form while the government was prosecuting him for filling out the FARA form the wrong way. Remember, if you're associated with Trump, justice, air quotes, because it's not real. That's why I titled the show today, Justice Doesn't Even Exist Anymore. Justice, fake justice will come and find you. But when you're a Democrat and you smash BlackBerries and you run a bleach bit program on them to delete information, to hide it from the government, like the Clinton team did, you're A-okay, man. Everything's good.
You just heard The Dan Bongino Show. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud. And follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 @DBongino.